I collapsed in the middle of the quarterly presentation. One moment I was explaining revenue projections, the next the floor rushed up to meet me. Through the haze I heard my boss mutter, "Not today, Maya." Paramedics arrived. Someone mentioned calling my emergency contacts. I tried to speak but couldn't form words. The ambulance ride blurred into white lights and beeping machines. When I finally woke in the hospital, a nurse smiled gently. "We called your family," she said. "They should be here soon." I nodded, my chest aching. Hours passed. The chair beside my bed stayed empty. My phone buzzed once. A notification. Brandon, my husband, had tagged me in a photo. I opened it with trembling fingers. There he was, glasses raised, with my boss. The caption glowed beneath their smiling faces, finally celebrating without the drama. My heart monitor beeped louder, matching my pulse. The nurse glanced over, concerned. I turned the phone face down. They weren't coming. They never planned to. Morning arrived with pale sunlight through sterile curtains. My phone stayed quiet except for work emails. No calls from Brandon. No texts from my mother asking if I was alive. Just silence, thick and deliberate. Then an email from HR appeared. "Dear Maya, we hope you recover soon. We've reassigned your quarterly project to Brandon to ensure continuity." I read it 3 times. The project I'd built for 2 years, the one I'd collapsed presenting, now carried his name. My chest tightened, not from my condition but from understanding. They'd been waiting for this. An opening to erase me professionally, while pretending it was kindness. I scrolled through Brandon's social media. More photos from last night. Colleagues congratulating him. My boss commenting, "Couldn't have done it without this guy." Not a single mention of me. I set the phone down and stared at the ceiling tiles. Something shifted inside me then. Not anger exactly, but a cold, clear focus. They thought I was done. They'd miscalculated badly. The doctor discharged me after 3 days. "Take it easy," he warned. "Your body needs rest." I nodded, but rest wasn't what I planned. Brandon picked me up, his face carefully neutral. "Feeling better?" he asked, eyes on the road. "Getting there," I replied. We drove in silence. At home, he helped me to the couch with exaggerated care, then immediately retreated to his office for a critical call. I heard him laughing through the door. I opened my laptop. Brandon's shared calendar showed lunch meetings I'd never heard about. His recent emails, still logged in on our home computer, revealed conversations about restructuring Maya's role. My role. Discussed without me. I took screenshots of everything. Not for revenge, not yet, just evidence. Building a file the way I'd been trained to do at work. Methodical. Thorough. When Brandon emerged hours later, I smiled. "Thanks for picking me up," I said. He looked relieved. "Of course. That's what husbands do." Kept smiling. That's what guilty husbands do, thought. 2 weeks later, I returned to the office. Heads turned as I walked through the door. Pitying looks everywhere. Whispered conversations that stopped when I passed. Brandon avoided eye contact completely, suddenly fascinated by his computer screen. My boss appeared, smile too wide. "Maya, so glad you're back. We were worried sick." Worried sick, but not worried enough to visit. Or call. Or check if I was alive. "Thank you," I said evenly. "I'm ready to contribute again." He nodded enthusiastically. "Actually, we have something perfect for you. Less stressful. You need to ease back in." He led me to a cubicle far from my old office. "Data verification," he announced. "Important work. Foundation of everything we do." It was clerical work. Grunt work they gave to new interns. Smiled. "Sounds good." His relief was visible. They expected tears or resistance. Instead, I sat down and opened the first spreadsheet. What they didn't know, data verification meant access to every department's files. Every transaction. Every signature. I'd just been handed the keys to their secrets. The work was mind-numbing. Checking invoices against purchase orders. Verifying client payments matched contracts. But I didn't complain. I became invisible, the quiet woman buried in spreadsheets while others celebrated promotions and closed deals. During lunch, I ate at my desk. People stopped inviting me to meetings. Because while they forgot I existed, I was learning things. Small discrepancies at first. An invoice processed twice. A client bonus that didn't match the contract terms. I noted them in a private document, adding dates and amounts. Nothing dramatic yet. Just inconsistencies that painted a picture. Brandon walked past my cubicle once, saw my screen full of numbers, and smirked. "Exciting stuff," he said. I looked up, smiled blandly. "Someone has to do it." He laughed, already moving on. What he didn't see was the second monitor. The one tracking every unusual transaction with his signature attached. I was patient, could wait. They taught me that, after all, through years of being reliable, invisible Maya. Patterns emerged after a month. Certain vendors appeared repeatedly with inflated charges. Client reimbursements approved above policy limits. And Brandon's signature everywhere, often countersigned by my boss. I cross-referenced everything with company policy documents. Each violation carefully logged. Amounts, dates, parties involved. Printed nothing. Paper trails could be discovered. Instead, I maintained encrypted files on a personal cloud drive, backed up nightly. During a coffee break, I overheard two accountants discussing creative solutions for budget shortfalls. They laughed about how upper management never checked the details. I stirred my coffee slowly, memorizing their names. That afternoon, I requested historical data for trend analysis. HR approved without question. Maya was thorough after all. Always had been. The files arrived by email. 3 years of transactions. I spent evenings sorting through them, finding the thread that connected everything. Brandon hadn't just taken my project. He'd been building something else entirely. Something that would destroy him if exposed correctly. The lunchroom became my theater. I sat in the corner, pretending to read while conversations flowed around me. Brandon held court at the center table, co-workers laughing at his jokes. "Carrying the team," he said, grinning. "Someone has to." My boss nodded. "Maya just needs rest. Health comes first." They spoke about me like I was fragile. Broken. Past tense. I bit into my sandwich, chewing slowly. Then I heard it. "The Atlas payment issue," my boss said quietly to Brandon. "We'll route it through Maya's old codes. If anyone asks, she authorized it before her leave." Brandon hesitated. "Is that necessary?" "Trust me. Better safe than sorry." They were planning to frame me for a missing client payment. Pin their mistake on the woman too sick to defend herself. I finished my lunch, threw away my trash, and walked back to my cubicle. I didn't need to confront them. I just needed to document this conversation. The camera on my phone, left recording in my bag on the nearby counter, had captured everything. Time-stamped, dated and saved. I needed allies but carefully. During a team meeting, I noticed Veronica, a senior analyst from finance. She'd once complained about questionable approvals during a private conversation. I approached her after work. "Veronica, could I ask your opinion on something? Just between us." She looked curious. "Sure, Maya. What's up?" I showed her a sanitized version of one discrepancy. Nothing incriminating, just odd. She frowned. That's not right. The approval chain is completely wrong. I thought so too. But I'm just doing data verification now. Wasn't sure if I should mention it. She leaned in, voice dropping. Between you and me, there have been audits before. Things they swept under the rug. If you're noticing patterns, keep records. Would you be willing to review some reports if I had questions? She nodded slowly. Unofficially, yes. Send them after hours to my personal email. We exchanged contact information. She didn't realize she'd just become my inside access to restricted finance records. That night, Veronica sent me files I wasn't supposed to see. Executive expense reports. Board meeting minutes. My archive grew exponentially. Each document another piece of the puzzle I was assembling. Homeby, Randon was celebrating. They're promoting me. He announced over dinner. Regional director. Can you believe it? I set down my fork carefully. That's wonderful. Congratulations. He finally met my eyes. You're happy for me, right? I know things have been hard. Of course I'm happy. Smiled. You've worked hard for this. He relaxed, pouring wine for himself. It means more travel. Starting next month. You'll be okay alone. I'll manage, I said. After dinner, while he showered, I checked his work tablet. We shared the password, a remnant from when we trusted each other. His email was still logged in. I scrolled quickly, taking screenshots. There it was. My entire quarterly presentation, sent to himself 2 weeks before my collapse. Subject line, Q4 deck final, Brandon. He'd renamed every file with his initials. Claimed my work as his own before I'd even finished it. The promotion was built on my research. My analysis. My late nights. I heard the shower turn off. Quickly I cleared the browser history, and set the tablet back exactly where he'd left it. Evidence collected. Rage swallowed. Patience maintained. I became an actress. At work, the grateful colleague thanking everyone for their patience. At home, the supportive wife celebrating Brandon's success. But at night, alone with my laptop, I was someone else entirely. A detective assembling a case. Brandon's travel schedule raised questions. Hotel charges in cities where his meetings allegedly occurred, but on different dates. Dinner expenses for two when he claimed to be working solo. I didn't confront him. Confrontation was pointless. Instead, I logged everything. Screenshots of credit card notifications. Calendar discrepancies. Emails mentioning travel companions. He never identified. One notification showed charges from Vincent's, an expensive steakhouse downtown. The same night he'd texted me he was eating alone in his hotel room. I zoomed in on the transaction details. 2 entrees. A bottle of wine. Dessert for 2. I saved the image, added it to my growing file, and went to bed. When Brandon came home from that trip, I kissed his cheek. How was it? Exhausting, he said, yawning. Just meetings and room service. Sounds lonely, I replied. He nodded, already walking away. Perfect liar. Perfect evidence. I needed guidance. Evelyn Morrison had been operations director before retiring last year. She'd always treated me with respect, unlike others who saw me as support staff. I found her number in my old contacts. We met for coffee at a quiet place across town. Maya, she said warmly. How are you? Honestly, I'm considering leaving the company. Her expression sharpened. Because of what happened? He nodded. They've made it clear I'm expendable. She sipped her coffee. Let me tell you something I learned too late. Don't just leave. Build your landing first. What do you mean? Secure your next position. Gather your leverage. Then exit on your terms, not theirs. She leaned closer. And if there are things they don't want exposed, make sure someone trustworthy knows the truth. That sounds like revenge, I said carefully. That sounds like justice, she corrected. We talked for 2 hours. She introduced me to contacts at rival firms. Gave me advice on protecting my intellectual property. By the time we parted, I had a roadmap. Not for revenge. For rebuilding. But if they happen to destroy themselves in the process, so be it. Through Evelyn's network, I interviewed with Vanguard Systems. They were Atlas Dynamics' biggest competitor. The hiring manager, Mr. Pierce, was impressed by my portfolio. Your work on predictive modeling is exceptional, he said. We could use someone with your expertise. I'm still employed at Atlas, I said carefully. Would that be an issue? Not if you can start within 60 days. We're launching a new division. He extended an offer letter. Senior Project Manager. 20% salary increase. My own team. I accepted immediately. But there was a condition: complete my current obligations professionally. Perfect. Because what I was planning would wrap up beautifully within that timeline. I didn't tell Brandon about the offer. Didn't mention the interviews or the new job. At home, I remained the supportive wife. At work, the quiet data clerk. But every night, I refined my exit strategy. Timing was everything. The company's annual audit was scheduled for next month. Everything had to align perfectly. Documents prepared. Evidence secured. New job confirmed. Then I could light the fuse and walk away. 2 weeks before the audit, I compiled everything into a single encrypted file. I labeled it Compliance Review, Internal Reference. Inside, every falsified invoice, every suspicious transaction, every email showing Brandon and my boss knowingly violating company policy. I organized it by category: misappropriation of funds, false reporting, intellectual property theft. Each section had supporting documentation, timestamps, signatures, paper trails that led directly to them. Created 2 versions. One sanitized version went into the shared company drive, filed under routine compliance materials. Boring. Ignorable. The real version stayed encrypted on my personal cloud, with copies sent to Evelyn's secure email as backup. If something happened to me, if they tried to silence me somehow, the truth would still surface. I labeled the cloud file with that day's date. Then I waited. The audit team would arrive unannounced. Standard procedure. When they started asking questions, requesting documentation, be ready. Not to volunteer information, that would seem vengeful. But to provide exactly what they requested, organized and comprehensive. I'd let the evidence speak for itself. 2 weeks. 14 days until everything changed. I could be patient a little longer. Have you subscribed to this channel? Please subscribe, like and share with others. Don't forget to hit the notification bell for more stories. Wait for the concluding part of this story. I used to think silence meant defeat. That walking away was the same as giving up. But now, I know that silence can be a choice. A kind of peace that doesn't need others' permission. Some stories don't need new chapters. They just need to end right there. If you've ever been called selfish for putting yourself first, I hope this reminds you that choosing peace isn't betrayal. It is freedom. And survival. They can keep their posts, their version of the truth. I'll keep my stillness, my happiness, my life. I have the truth and peace. Peace is better than you being loved by the same people who only care about you when you are useful to them. If you've ever had to walk away from your own blood in order to heal, share your story below. Subscribe and support this channel.